Welcome to another Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and this is continuing my series of talking about everything I can get my hands on by H.G. Wells, most of which I've already read before, and many of which I've reread recently, but I'm rereading them again if necessary in order to refresh my memory so I can do the videos and talk about it intelligently. So this is number 5 in my series, the 5th published work that I can find by H.G. Wells. It is titled The Devotee of Art. It was published in the School's Science Journal for November to December issue in 1888. So we're still very early in Wells' career. This story is not what you would normally think of when you think H.G. Wells. It isn't quite all the way to his literary social commentary type of books that are also kind of surprising to the person who only knows Time Machine, War of the Worlds, stuff like that. It is on the fantastic side, but it's kind of a fantasy horror story, which H.G. Wells did really, really well, especially if you think about the Morlocks in the Time Machine, the Martians in the War of the Worlds, and the creations of Dr. Moreau. Then you realize, yeah, H.G. Wells was really good at writing horror. But he's not really thought of as a horror writer. So in this story, you have an artist working on a painting, but the painting comes alive and is a demon bent on destroying his life. I don't want to give you any more than that. If that's enough to make you think you'd like to read it, then go and read it and see for yourself. It's a pretty good story. I wouldn't give this a top tale. Wells has written better than this, but it is a pretty good story. And it's one which kind of looks into the perpetual judgment call we have of, do we have enough? Do we need more? There may be things we want, but do we really need them? Are they going to make our lives better? Or would our lives be much better if we just stopped and stayed with what we have? When is too much become too much? And should we really shoot for our craziest dreams? I mean, we should hold on to some dreams in our life. But sometimes our dreams are a little ridiculous, and we should kind of pull back from that and consider stopping with what's more realistic in our life. In this case, the artist wants to be a great artist, but getting there, he can get there. The demon will get him there, but it will destroy everything else in his life. And that's what the artist has to struggle with. I think we all do struggle with that. Balancing what we wish our lives would be like versus what we actually have. And should we make changes or should we stick with what we've got? Is what we have good enough? Should we be happy? And of course, most of us never are truly happy. But the question is, should we stop pursuing that lofty goal, lofty desire, and accept that we're never going to make it and just stay with what we've got. In my life, I try to balance the two. I don't give up on the things that I really wish for, but I try to scale them back to something more realistic, such as Telltale books. I'm shooting for a big dream here. I'm realistic that I might not make it all the way to what I want to do. And so I'd be happy if I can just keep doing this and keep buying and reading all these great books. Not much more I can say about The Devotee of Art. It's not a major H.G. Wells story. And of course, I read this story in my edition of the complete short stories of H.G. Wells. There are other books that have the same title as this, but they are older and they are not as complete. I think I've mentioned before, even this one isn't truly complete because there is one story that has been discovered since this book was published, and that story has been published in the Strand magazine. One of these days I'll get to that story and read it and talk about it. But for now, I'm going through this book mostly with these early short stories. And it's an excellent book. Unfortunately, this edition with this group of stories has never been published in hardcover that I can tell. So that softcover book is all you're going to get if you go looking for it. There are hardcover editions, but they're the older ones that aren't as complete. And I guess it depends on whether or not you want to get absolutely every short story he wrote, or if you're happy with a dozen of the stories not being there. So that's The Devotee of Art, H.G. Wells, number 5 on my list. The next one, we're going to jump all the way up to 1891, and more of an article actually called The Rediscovery of the Unique. And I hope you will come back and join me for that. Until then, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and come on back for all the other authors I talk about. Every video I put up, I rotate them constantly. I have a different author being talked about with every video, and so it'll be a tiny bit before I get back to H.G. Wells. Though because I have recently read most of actually all of his work up to 1901, and I'm going back and redoing them to create videos for the ones that I haven't already. I'm trying to do this quickly. I'm trying to get through a lot of them in a fairly short time. We'll see just how fast I can do it. He was prolific in the 1890s. So, anyway, I hope you'll come back. I'll be here doing this.